Hello, my friend. Welcome to live chats. I thought we would have a fun chat today, just something real chill and relaxed, and go through the products that I've saved for no good reason other than a video like this. I have been, if you are new to the channel, I have been posting on this particular channel since 2012. And there have been a lot of palettes that have had a lot of hype and come and gone and then been forgotten about. And I thought we would talk about some of them today, at least the ones that I own. There are a lot that have come out that I didn't purchase that I think would be wonderful for this video. But I want to talk about, because I have them, ones that I did purchase that were a big deal in our space at the time. And just kind of talk about our opinions on them, and would they be popular today if they were released just as they are? Were they innovative and bringing something new to the market, or is it really just the same old shades in a cool packaging, or none of the above? Let's talk about it. But before we do, I want to quickly say hello, romper room style, to the collective brain of makeup awesomeness that are here live. Also, the people, notice the people that are here in live chat. If you're watching this on the replay, you're participating in the comment section down below. This week, most weeks we do it at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Next week will be at 5 p.m. Eastern time. All right, let's say hello. Good morning, Diana. Good to see you. Good morning, Thriving and Beyond. This Leslie. Good to see you. Good morning. Good morning, What's Up Makeup friends. Hope you all are staying warm. It is so cold. It is so cold. I feel like the entirety of the United States is very, very cold. I'm not sure how it is in the rest of the world, but very cold. Hello, Teresa and the rest of the moderators. Thank you for being here. I'm sure Teresa is extremely cold where she lives. It is usually very cold compared to where I live. I'm sure it's even colder today. So stay warm, Teresa. Good morning, Consuelo. Good morning, Tish. Good to see you. Chilly down in Florida today. Yeah, I heard that it's in the 30s in Miami today. What? The palm trees are going to die. Oh my gosh, like nuts, absolutely nuts. We have down when I grew up, we used to go to the beach every summer to a little town called Chincoteague Island, and they had a golf course, and on that golf course they had palm trees that they imported. And what they did was they wrapped them in cellophane to try to protect them from the winter. But I would imagine the palm trees in Florida are not wrapped in cellophane to protect them from 30-degree weather. So hopefully they do okay. And hopefully everybody in Florida is staying safe and warm. Yasu Cherry, good morning to you. Good morning, Sherry. Good morning to Jilly Mack. Good morning to you, and good morning to Jody and Jen and Bailey. And if I did not say good morning to you, good morning to you. Thank you so much for being here. So I just pulled these out. I have behind me, you can see some of the cabinetry behind me. There are palettes hiding in a lot of these because I used to do a lot more palette reviews than I do now. And I would do, up close swatches and things, and they were very successful, very popular for a while. And then people just didn't seem to be digging on the reviews like that as much. There weren't as many exciting palettes coming out to spend that much time with them. But these palettes, I feel like a lot of them, people were so pumped. So pumped. Let's talk about, I'm just going to go in order of the ones that I have out. I think this is still available, but this is my original Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette. And look how, calm this is. It's so calm. It still smells like chocolate, but barely. Just a little bit. But I was dying over this. This was the first scented makeup that I owned, and I love chocolate. I'm a huge chocolate fan, and I love it. I love this so much. And then I used it, I guess it was maybe, I don't know, a few years after I gotten it, and I tried a bunch more pigmented eyeshadows, and I didn't love it as much as I did. I did see somebody, I got distracted a little bit. Holly wanted to see my whole shirt, so we're going to pause for a quick second. You may ask yourself, how did I get here? How do I work this? My God, what have I done? Na, 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 na. Sorry. Just wanted to bring that up since it's like the big t-shirt in the room, but it's like This is the shirt that inspired my t-shirt collection, actually. But yes, I mean, I think that there's still a market for this. I think that's why I'm pretty sure they still sell this. I think that there are definitely people that will still love this, but it's going to be probably people that like more calm looks, like Wendy's saying, I still love mine. Yeah, totally. I remember really loving this shade here, this olive green, because I didn't really own a whole lot like that. And I remember just loving that. And now it just looks muddy. I don't know if it's just because my palette is old, because it may be. I remember really liking this pink too and having fun with this, that it was like a really pigmented, powdery pink. But look at it. It's like, where did it go? It's probably because the palette's old. Keep that in mind. When I complain about these palettes like not performing well right now, it's because they're old. That's 3. Here's 4. It's like, yeah. But that was one. That was one that I wanted to talk about. All right. Okay. Yeah. Jackie misses her chocolate bar palette. Yeah. And I haven't used this in so long. It's been a while. It's been a minute. All right, so now let's go to the next one. Okay, do you remember the old school Viseart packaging? This was very, very expensive. I remember buying this, and I hardly used it. I thought it was just okay. At the time, I really didn't like it that much. This is the Sultry Muse palette by Viseart. And I thought it was just all right. And I think it was because I was starting to really get into Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes where they were like really pigmented. We hadn't really seen that a whole lot. And these were more formulated for makeup artists doing like wedding makeup, soft looks, buildable. I didn't quite get this palette when I got it. And I'm sad because I feel like I would appreciate it more now than I did when I purchased it. But I wanted to show you the old school Viseart packaging, in case it's been a while since you've seen that. All right, I have a couple of collabs. I have 3 collabs to show you. Do you remember this? This is the Violet Voss Nicole Concilio palette. Do you remember that this existed? I freaking loved this when I got it. I thought it was so great. Now looking at it, it's like, how many, like, I don't know, deserty browns did we need at the time? I mean, she has this really cool pop of blue here, but this was so cool when it came out. I was dying over this. I used it quite a bit when I first got it, and then it just kind of got buried and I forgot about it. I did think she did a really nice job on it at the time, but now looking at it now, I don't think it would sell the same as it did back then. But I loved the hollow that she put on there, and Violet Voss was like crushing it when they first came out. Violet Voss still has really good eyeshadows, but I think they get lost. I think Violet Voss gets lost in the masses, and just having a good quality eyeshadow formula just isn't enough anymore, unfortunately, because there's just so many, good eyeshadow formulas out there from so many different brands. So yeah. Yeah, I do own that, and I did love it at the time, but I'm not sure if she would design the same thing. I have a lot of people asking about my mug. A lot of people are like, what does it say on your mug? It says Tears of My Enemies. I got this at the beach over the summer as kind of like a joke gift for myself. So yeah, we were walking by a store and they had it in the window. And the woman who worked in the store was so lovely. She was like, she told us all this. We just met her. She's working at the beach. She's got this store. She was going through a divorce and just having a tough time trying to run the store all by herself. And I felt so bad for her, like, after talking to her. And she was so excited to like sell me my mug. I almost bought a couple more things, but there really wasn't anything else in the store that I wanted, or else I probably would have bought a couple more things, because she was very nice, and she was like, you could tell she was just exhausted from her life, but a lovely, lovely person. Side note. Is Nicole still active? I do believe Nicole does still upload. I believe. I follow her on Twitter, but I haven't really checked in with her YouTube channel in a while. All right, we have another collab. Candy Johnson, Too Faced revisting Candy Johnson. I Want Candy collection. I was not a fan of this palette, if I remember correctly. There was something I liked from the collection, but it was not this. I can't remember. I think it was the lip that she did with that. It was like a frosty, and it actually was really good, kind of like my collab with Ofra, the lightest shade. It was really good to mix with other lipsticks. But this I wasn't a huge fan of, but I did find it interesting. These down here were supposed to be like mixing shades, and it did smell like candy. It doesn't really anymore. But these were supposed to be like mixing shades where you're supposed to be able to top them on top, and they were supposed to change the look, and they kind of worked. But yeah, I mean, I was a huge Candy Johnson fan. I did meet her once, and I literally cried and embarrassed myself because if you don't know this about me, I am a very emotional person, and sometimes the emotions come on, and I literally can't control them. Some people can hold back their tears. I can't. If I'm feeling emotional enough, it just comes. So I went to the premiere of that show that she did. It was like a contest show that she did, and I got invited somehow. I don't know why. And I went to New York, and I met Candy, and I literally cried. I totally embarrassed myself. But she was lovely. She was very sweet. She's actually like, I don't know, maybe we're about the same age. It's like me and Candy Johnson and Wayne Goss are all the same age, like within months of each other. But yeah, I always find that fun. So yeah, this was an okay palette. I did not use this a whole lot. I think I remember really liking the sugared strawberry shade, if I remember right. Yeah, I used that one a lot out of this palette, but it's like, I feel like it was good effort. It was a good try. I like the packaging, but you know, let me scroll down a bit and see what you all are saying. Yeah, Flory says, I met Candy once. So sweet. Yeah, she's just a really nice person. All right, so I'm looking to see if there's anybody commenting on the palette specifically. Okay, I want to show you the next one because I think I saw someone mention this. I was obsessed with this palette, the Graveyard Girl Swamp Queen palette. This was the height of the Graveyard Girl days. She was at the tippy top of her game, crushing it. And I think I was like away on vacation or something, and I got back and I got this. I remember it was summertime, and I did a full review of this, and I loved it. I did remember this was the first sequin. Tarte called it a sequin shadow. This was the first shadow like that I had ever seen. Let me swatch it for you. It's called Sippy Sippy. But I remember in the video, I went like, see the glitter? Can you see the glitter in it? Would you go like this? And the glitter, like a lot of it goes away. And it would like leave fallout all over your face through the day. Where I feel like Tarte really nailed that sequin formula. You know, this was before it was even called a sequin formula. I think Tarte coined that. But I remember loving this palette other than that particular shade. And I think this one was vanilla scented. It was, and it still is a little bit. But I was obsessed with this. I love this palette so much. Like the blush and the highlighter I used a lot. I tried to use the bronzer shade, and that didn't go that well. But honestly, like I feel like this palette would get lost today. I feel like it would get lost, except for the outer packaging, which since then I've never seen a wood palette where it's like fake wood. I've never seen it since this. Like the art on here, have you seen anything like this since then? Like I don't think I have. There you go. There's an idea for a brand. There you go. Something that hasn't been done in a while. Okay, hold on a minute. Jayla wants to know who Candy Johnson is. Old school YouTuber, has done a lot of collabs. She was like one of the old school like tutorial YouTubers that everybody like fell in love with. Just very, very bubbly and happy and all of that. If you're not familiar, you can always Google her and check out her old YouTube stuff. I think she still posts on Instagram. So Yeah, Banshee Muse. I had the Swamp Queen palette and I didn't like it. Yeah, I remember really liking it, except for that one shade. But I could be wrong. It's been a really long time. It's been a very long time. Yeah, exactly, Monique. It looks so basic Tarte inside. Exactly what people were dying over this palette when it came out. Yes, Michelle. Anyone else have the Urban Decay Gwen Stefani palette? My sister-in-law was obsessed with that palette when it came out. I didn't get it because I found it to be like a little too calm, like as far as the color story, like it was very light colored, if I remember right. It was a lot of lighter neutrals, and I just felt like I didn't need it at the time. But my sister-in-law was obsessed, and I know a lot of people were obsessed with that palette. And speaking of obsessed, see if you know what's coming next. My original Jaclyn Hill palette, I will probably never throw this away. Like, this is the palette that when I die, people are going to have to throw this away. This will go with me for the rest of my life, probably, because I have so many memories with this palette between like the video things that I've done with this palette and, just taking it on trips. And I use the hell, like, look how dirty and funky this thing is. Like, look how funky. And this right here reminds me of Raw Beauty Christie. I got this idea from her that they didn't have the shade names in the original palette. So they sent a card with most people's, not everybody got a card, but they sent a card. So I taped it in here like Christie did. That was her idea, was to tape it in there. But yeah, I have a lot of good memories with this palette. Yeah. Obsessed. Obsessed. Yeah, I mean, it's iconic. It is. There it is. Mallory. That one feels so iconic. It totally is. Absolutely. That thing broke the internet. Yes, it absolutely did. 100%. Yeah, Tierney. Yes, the OG Jaclyn Hill palette. I still have mine. Absolutely. I think so many of us do. And they changed the formula, which is so incredibly sad. I don't know, Anna, if I would take it that far, put it in the grave with me. Like, I don't think that, we're not taking it that, it's not a love, it's a nostalgia. I don't think I'd take it that far. Definitely things that mean more to me than the Jaclyn Hill palette that I would say put in the grave with me. But, yeah, Jennifer, I will never toss my Gwen Stefani palette, and I think a lot of people feel exactly the same way. All right, so this one you may not remember, I don't know, but this is the Kevyn Aucoin Contour Book Volume 2. This was huge in my life back in the day. I thought this thing was just so... like, it was the first natural palette after my Urban Decay Naked palettes that I felt like I could use all the time because the quality of this was so much better than the Urban Decay ones. It kind of brought me up to the next level of my makeup game, this Kevyn Aucoin palette. I use the heck out of this. You can't tell because you only needed the teeniest, tiniest little bit of this. But I freaking loved this palette. And they even had this little guide in the front, this little, to kind of help you to use it. But this was my first step into contouring too, was using these. So yeah, I mean, there's a sculpting cream in here that's I'm not going to touch, a candlelight cream. I think there was a big to-do people made about mixing the cream and the powder products, that the powder would get into the cream and kind of ruin the cream. But I mostly used it for the eyeshadows, and this was a good palette. This was a good palette. I had a bunch of Kat Von D palettes from before I knew who Kat Von D was as a person. Like, I just knew her as a tattoo artist, and she came up with this brand, and she seems really cool, blah, blah, blah. I have all of the old Kat Von D palettes, but I feel a little weird showing them. I have one there. I feel a little odd, like, just because she's icky, man. There was a story I almost put in What's Up in Makeup about Kat Von D and her firing someone that works at her tattoo studio for like going against her for like Kat's like was being like, well, allegedly was not taking COVID mandates seriously and not believing in vaccines. I mean, are we shocked that she doesn't believe in the COVID vaccine? I'm not shocked. But I almost put it in What's Up in Makeup, but it's just too far. Like, I felt like the Fashion Nova was pushing it enough. But yeah, she's just icky. But I do have from way a long time ago a lot of my old Kat Von D palettes. All right. Let's see. Yeah. Curb Appeal says, I have 2 of those Kevyn Aucoin palettes. Yeah, they're so great. 35. Oh, Amanda, the Morphe 35. Oh, I ended up getting that really late. And I remember just being like, this is what everybody's freaking out about? Like, this is it? This is the thing? Everybody died over that. I don't think I have that anymore. I think I gave it away. So Bailey wants to know, when should I consider eyeshadow expired? If it ever smells, it's expired. Just straight up. If it ever smells bad. But powder products, I think it kind of depends, because powder products don't go bad. Like, you can of course look at the expiration date on the back, it'll tell you. But powder products, I stretch them longer, and it's just a personal choice. So for me, my limit is like 4 or 5 years. That's just me, because I feel like they don't hold on to bacteria as much as something that has water in it, like a cream formula. So I hold on to them a lot longer than the shelf life says on the back. But to be safe, you can stick to the shelf life on the back. But honestly, like me, I never do. But as adults, we kind of have to decide what we want to do individually. I just don't want you to get an eye infection because I said I keep mine and use mine longer. But do what you want, but use at your own risk past the expiration date on the back. Usually they're at the most 2 years on the back. So yeah, Michael says, Jen, I'm not a big fan, a Jaclyn fan, but man, those blues and purples in the first Jaclyn Morphe palette were so pretty. They really were. They really were. Let's bring that out for a second and appreciate. I have so many palettes next to me that I want to show you, that I'm excited to show you. But like these guys, like this little corner was love right here. This little corner. They were good. They were really good. Okay, so let me show you this. I'm going to dig a little bit. This right here. Too Faced, Power of Makeup, collab with NikkieTutorials. This palette blew up the internet, okay, for many reasons. There were stages of blowing up with this palette. So first, people were freaking out because NikkieTutorials was collabing with Too Faced, and so many people bought it. And then the reviews came out, and the vast majority of people didn't like it. I will say I was not one of those people. I liked it. I don't know if I got a fluke one that was good or if it was just my basis for comparison, but I liked it. This is what it looked like on the inside. Then it got even more drama with it because Nikkie was upset about people complaining about the quality of it. And she had said, if I remember correctly, hopefully I remember correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong, that she said that she felt like the quality that was shipped out to customers wasn't what she had tested. Also, there was a big blow up between her and Too Faced that they did not pay her nearly as much as they probably should have, considering how many palettes this sold and how much money Too Faced made, that Nikkie didn't make the money that she probably should have as far as the percentage of this. But I don't think she ever specifically said that this was the collab she was talking about, but it's kind of one of those things where I think people always assumed that it had to have been this palette. But I don't know if that ever was like officially confirmed that it was this one. But I think everybody it's like, yeah, it was this. So yeah, this was like a thing. This was a big thing for months, from the launch to all the drama afterward to years later, when Nikkie talked about how she felt like she wasn't treated fairly in that situation. I think she got like a standard amount instead of like a percentage of sales or something. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Angie, the collab that screwed Nikkie. Yes. Classically, Diana says, I thought Morphe palettes were so good until I tried palettes that were actually good. I had no idea. And it's funny because sometimes I'll talk about palettes that were really bad. I mean, like powdery bad. And somebody will come in my comments and say, that is my favorite palette. I can't believe you said that it's bad. And I wonder what their basis of comparison is. Like, back when I started my channel, the Naked palettes, here's Naked 3. It's so old. It's so old. Here's my Naked 3. I would have said these were the best palettes to ever hit the market, but it was because of my basis of comparison. And now I would definitely not say that. I mean, they're still good for a certain, I don't know, for like certain techniques, certain styles, if you want something more natural. But sometimes I feel like maybe our basis of comparison is different. And that's why some people like certain palettes and not other ones. And I also think it's the level of skill too. Like I was talking about the Viseart palette. I feel like at the time I didn't have the level of skill that I needed in order to make the Viseart palette work well. Where I feel like now I would do better with that, I think. UVA Double Wahoo says, I don't understand. Didn't Nikki have a contract that laid out how much she would make? I think that she did, but I think that she felt like, or at least this is what I remember. I could be wrong. My memory is not fabulous. But what I remember is that they kind of took advantage of her in that they did not, like she didn't know any better kind of thing, and they knew she didn't know any better. So when she signed the contract, which, you know, she probably should have had a lawyer look at it or somebody that was more knowledgeable than her look at it. But, you know, that they really just kind of took advantage of her not knowing that she could make a lot more, I think was the vibe behind it. So, yeah, Mari and Mike Bresnick says she said she only got paid $50,000 and that's it. And considering how many it sold, I think that was the issue. Oh, thank you, Jenna, for reminding me. And I think Elizabeth did too. She was under a gag clause, so Jeffrey blew the situation up and she couldn't. Yes. Elizabeth says, not to bring up Jay Starr, but he did talk about it in the second Shane Dawson documentary. Probably the most interesting part, LOL. He confirmed it was Two-Faced. Yes, that's right. That she wasn't allowed to say anything. He blew up the spot. So, yes. I don't think she did any other collabs with Two-Faced. I'm pretty sure she did not. All right. So I have my collection of Naked palettes. Let me see, what time is it? Oh, we're almost, okay. Before I go into my collection of Naked palettes that I wanted to show you, I have 4 that I wanted to show you and their state of being. Let's talk about what's on my face today very quickly. So blush today, this I think I purchased, pretty sure. This is the Essence Mosaic Blush. All you need is pink. It is absolutely beautiful. If you're looking for nice blushes at a lower price point, Essence does a fantastic job. I did want to mention, I did use this again today. I had used it for What's Up in Makeup and I used it again today. This is the e.l.f. Cookies and Dreams Putty Primer and it worked great. And one thing I love about this that I didn't like so much about the Tatcha one is that the Tatcha one didn't melt the way that this one does. When you put your finger in this, it really is very creamy, where I feel like the Tatcha one was very soft, was very hard, and this just it just melts into the skin. It's a really nice formula. I'd never tried the e.l.f. putty primer, face primer before. I didn't like the eye primer. I felt like that was really hard, but I am really enjoying this very much so far. For my eyes today, I started off with the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes palette. This was sent in PR. The e.l.f. was purchased. This was sent in PR, and then I topped it off. I wanted to play with this, and I immediately regretted it when I opened it. This is purchased. This is the Cherry Crush palette by ColourPop. I was like, what am I going to do with this? Like, without looking like I'm just bleeding from the eyeballs. Like, what? So that's why I set it up with the Master Mattes. And then like the shimmer wasn't enough. So I wanted to add just a little bit of sparkle. I don't know if it's coming across on camera, but I wanted to add a little bit of, oh, the white, by the way, before I get into the shimmer I added, the white that I use in the inner corner is from the Mario palette. Let me show you how amazing this white is. Like, hopefully it swatches as well as it goes on the eye. And of course it's not really. Let me do it again. It was so opaque on the eye, and it really blended nicely into the pink to make the whole look a little bit softer. I really love that. This is what I topped for a little bit of glitter. This is the JD Glow shade in AKA from their Galaxy collection. And I just tapped it very gently over top of the ColourPop palette. And I really like the way my look came out in the end. It just took me a little while to get it to where I liked it. But that's pretty much, oh, and on my lips, Too Faced. This is like disappearing. The color disappears really fast. This is the new Too Faced Sweet Tea. Let me put it on at full strength. I'm going to use my monitor here and see if I can do it without a mirror. See how it's like, I just put it on at like maybe 9:45 and it was gone. Like it's moisturizing, it's hydrating, but the color does not last very long. It feels good, like it smells good, but the color does not last. What's up with that? Okay. Let me go back to the comments real quick. Thank you, Flory. Enjoying chat. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thank you, Flory. You're amazing. All right, let's go into the Naked palette. So this is my original Urban Decay Naked palette. I actually got this after I got the Naked 2, and I didn't like this one as much. I had more trouble with this one. I think because, excuse me, I think because it's a little bit deeper than the Naked 2. I think I had trouble because it was like, it was harder for me to get a good look out of it, where the Naked 2 was like basically one of the inspirations for when I really thought I could do a YouTube channel and makeup. It made me feel confident because before this, all I'd ever used really was, I think I had one Kat Von D palette from when she launched the brand. But I don't remember if I bought that before or after this, now thinking about it. But anyway, point is, when I first started using this, it made me feel like I could do makeup because I had only really mostly tried like Revlon palettes and old school CoverGirl palettes and things like that, like the little crappy ones, you know, like they were awful. They were awful. And this really made me feel like I could do a pretty look. My skill was not great, and I felt confident. And it really made me happy. So my booty call fell out a long time ago. It's not there. This was a light, a light shimmery shade. It fell out and then I lost it. So I have no idea where my booty call is. If I ever find it, I will let you know. And then I found my booty call, but I think my booty call is long gone. In many ways. But yeah, so the Urban Decay Naked, I never really used it a whole lot, but I did use the Urban Decay Naked 3 quite a bit when I got it. And I felt the same way about this. Look, the brush is still in the wrapper. I never used the brush, but I felt the same way about this as I did about the Naked 2, in that it made me feel like I could do makeup. It made me feel like I could do a good job, and it brought pinks into my life. And I'd never really used pinks like this before. You know, now palettes like this are, you know, they're very easy to find. But yeah, I mean, like I remember this shade right here, the shade Blackheart, and thinking this was like, I'd never seen anything like this. This was so cool with the glitter in it and everything. But then when I blended it, I remember not being able to see the glitter and being disappointed that I couldn't see the glitter, and like thinking, is there something wrong with the way that I'm applying it that I can't see the glitter? But I feel like the only way to really see the glitter on that is to pack it on. But yeah, really love that. Another Urban Decay Naked palette that I never really used was the Urban Decay Smoky palette. I bought this, I reviewed it, I never really used it, and I think it's because I never quite figured out how to use it in a way that I liked. I mostly stuck over here and didn't really go to the middle. I don't know. I didn't use it a whole lot. I didn't. Let's see what you all are saying about it. Aw, Tish says, so far I haven't owned a single one that you've shown at this point. I totally forget what I was wearing at the time these came out. That's because you're probably responsible and throw away your old palettes. Oh my gosh, the Skincare Concierge. I had my Naked palette 10 years ago and it's still going strong. Oh, I've had my Naked palette for 10 years and still going strong. I can't believe that, Kristen. Thank you for putting your name there so I don't just call you the Skincare Concierge. Thank you, Kristen. Wow, still using it. And you're doing good, huh? Wow, that's awesome. Again, you just got to do what you got to do. You got to, I mean, you know. Mrs. Bailey says, I need to toss my expired Naked 2 palette. Does anyone have good recommendations for a cool tone neutral palette to replace it with? Do you remember Coastal Scents came out with dupes for the palettes? And they were good dupes. They were really good dupes. Coastal Scents was the first brand to really, in my knowledge, to really do good, solid dupes for high-end products. Now there's so many brands that do it. Not so many, but there are definitely brands that do it. But yeah, I don't know. Is there a good dupe for the Urban Decay Naked 2 palette? I would love to know if you know one. I'm sure there is. There has to be. Okay, let me scroll down a bit. I'm scrolling down a lot. So many good comments. Oh my gosh. Jody Amber, I only own the Heat palette. Absolutely loved it. Give me burnt orange any day. I got the Naked Heat palette and I did a review of it and I never used it. I never used it. That's probably somewhere in there and I just didn't come across it. But I never used it because I feel like those oranges just don't look great on me. But yeah, I did do a full review of that palette too. Lisa wants the new Urban Decay palette. That one's in What's Up in Makeup. If you haven't seen it, it's called the Wild something palette. It's like greens and stuff. Oh, nice. Martha says, I recently went on a cruise and discovered the Smoky palette and the Ultimate Basic palette. I love the looks that I got. Nice, nice. Those basic palettes were really nice. They kind of remind me of the Kevyn Aucoin palette a little bit as far as like the way that they work. All right, I'm going to put these down here because I'm running out of space. So I want to show you a couple of things. Okay, wait for these. Wait for these. Let me take Martha's comment off. Hold on a second. I was talking about these, I don't know, sometime. When was I talking about these? Chat last week, maybe? Talking about these? This guy right here. We have to talk about this palette. We have to talk about this. This was, oh my gosh, this was the thing. This is the Lorac Original Mega Pro palette. And I think I already told you how I was able to obtain this. This was eventually available everywhere. But I freaking loved this palette when I got it. It doesn't even look like I've hardly used it, but I swear I have. This is another one of those that you hardly needed any product. So Lorac said this was coming out and everybody was dying over it. It launched on Amazon and there were only a very small amount available. And I had a subscriber of mine comment on my video. The Lorac Mega Pro is on Amazon right now. I went on there. I bought it. I checked out. I went back and it was sold out. It went that fast. Like I was so close to not getting this. And I felt like the queen of the freaking world that I got this. I like, it was the biggest endorphin rush that I was able to get this palette. And it's like, should I have really been that excited? I don't know. But the thing is the only other way you could get this many shadows in a palette, if I remember correctly, was a Morphe palette or a Coastal Scents palette. And these were really high quality shadows. And you could create so many looks from this. I mean, this was with the golds and the burgundies and the pinks and the grays and the browns. This was a dream when this came out. People flipped out over this for good reason. It was fantastic. Yeah, Tierney says Mel Thompson palette would be iconic, just like the Naked ones and other OG palettes. I'm never getting rid of that one either. Got to breathe for a second. Sometimes things catch me off guard. Okay, I'm going to have a sip of coffee real quick. Pull it back a little. Okay. Maui Manda says Jen's like 10 years and no eye fungus. I mean, the thing is with powder products, is it really going to be that bad? Is it really going to be that bad? And I did see somebody talking about spraying with alcohol, which I'm sure could definitely help with that. But I'd be curious to do a bacteria test on these old palettes, if it would be a way to functionally do that in a way that would give legit results. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. I think that would be interesting to see. Oh my goodness, I'm missing so many good comments. I will go back and read all of these because y'all, there's so many good comments and I have to scroll down a bit.
Somebody said seeing the carnage on Jen's desk in the palette mirror is making me giggle.
Oh yeah, did you guys see in the mirror how it looks? Look, see if you can see. Hold on, let's see. That's some mess right there. Yes. Let's be transparent about what's on the desk here. See, look, there's some things that are coming up. Yeah. I'd show you back over in that corner. That corner stacked up. Nothing else can fit over there. And it's sad because I did straighten this area a little bit before I went live today too. I mean, There are certain things that are priorities. But for the record, I just put this here just now. That has not been sitting there. I just got a brand new paper towel. And that's going to get thrown away after chat. So Tracy says Lorac was a professional palette at a decent price. Love the aesthetic. Oh, totally. Totally. Miranda says the new Lorac holiday palette is stunning. Those shimmers are out of this world and so smooth on the eye. Great for us older gals. You know, I didn't even see it. Didn't even see it. Flora says, Jen, those are such fun times. They really were. Okay. So let me show you. So I have the original and I have the two, which I did not like that much. I was not the biggest fan of this one. Just the color story, I had trouble with it. I didn't like that there were so much light over here. Like I felt like some of these could have been removed. Like they were almost identical to use on the eye. This one was probably my least favorite. The two. I have the 3, which is well loved. I really like this one a lot. This was the Lorac Pro 3. This one I thought was fantastic. I just didn't like how dirty the packaging got. And then this is the 4. I have them all. This one, I don't know why I didn't use it more. Like this green right here, doesn't that like yell at you? Like, use me. Let's swatch this green and this pink and this blue. Like, really? I might even use this. I might use it. Like, oh my gosh, like the combo of that green and that pink. Oh gosh. Why didn't I use that more? I don't know. Because the thing is like doing this, you know, I get new palettes, especially back then, I was getting so many palettes to review that things just got buried. I'm like, this is gorgeous. I think this would sell today, honestly. I think if they made this into like, even if they made this into 2 palettes, like split it down the middle and made it into 2 palettes, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. But this is a gorgeous palette. Like I would say this is still a gorgeous palette today. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. What else do I have? Let's see. Okay. I was reading Amanda's comment about a booger. I was like, do I have boogers in my nose? I'll click on it. Amanda says, old booger Kleenex Jen, LOL, ew, haha. My bathroom's a mess on my makeup counter. The rest of the house, besides the cat litter and the dog toys, equals clean. You have to have one area of chaos. This is my area of chaos. But yeah, this was brand new. I swear. Has not been sitting here. Okay. Jody, the Lorac formula, it has to be the Pro formula. Make sure it says Pro on it. And it is similar to ABH, I would say, because there usually get a lot of kick up in the pan. Very pigmented, but I personally feel like Lorac's formula, eyeshadow formula, is a little easier to blend than the ABH formula. The ABH matte formula specifically is so pigmented that I feel like getting it to move sometimes and getting it to do what I want it to do takes a little bit more work than the Lorac formula. But I haven't tried a Lorac palette in years, so I don't know if they've changed things. But yeah, I mean, it was one of my favorite formulas, and I wish that they would like come back. Like, come back, Lorac. I loved them. I loved them. All right, ready for the next one? This was a whole thing too. The Tarte Pro palette. Do you remember this? This was the first. Was this the first one? I don't think this was the first one. The Tarte. There was like the Tarte. There was like, yeah, no, there were other Tarte palettes, I'm pretty sure. But this was the whole thing. I feel like, did this come out somewhere around when the Graveyard Girl palette came out? I feel like it did. And this kind of reminds me of where Tarte ended up going, where you had like all the mattes and then you had the shimmers over on the side. And I think you were supposed to use them like toppers almost, if I remember right. I don't know. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong. But yeah, I mean, it's still, I feel like this was as innovative as Tarte ever got. This is as innovative as they ever got. This is as good as it ever got. Like this was like, we're like, yes, bring it. Like with this. I love the packaging. The packaging is like solid, like no joke. Like it is hard packaging. This was something else. And the big, huge mirror and everything. Like this was groundbreaking stuff. And it still smells very strongly of vanilla. I can smell it all the way over here. But yeah, this was a good one. This was a real good one. Oh, while we were talking about Lorac, I have these too. I have this is the Lorac Pro. I think this was just the original Pro. And I think this was the 2. Doesn't say on it though, which is weird. I think this was the second one. I'm pretty sure I like both of these a lot. Yes, Miranda. Remember the brunch palette they did? Yes, I think that was the beginning of the end for them, unfortunately. I do. I think it was the beginning of the end. It was powdery. You know, and I think people lost a little bit of trust in Lorac after that. I like the blushes. I thought the blushes were good, but I did not like the brunch palette, if I remember right. Tracy says, I almost purchased the Sephora Pro Warm palette, but never got around to it. Yeah, the eyeshadow palette. I tried the the Sephora Pro Cheek palette, and I didn't like it. So I got nervous about trying more Sephora stuff for a long time. But then I recently did that video where I bought a bunch of stuff from Sephora just to give it another try, and I loved so much of it. So yeah, I don't think I ever tried the Sephora Pro eyeshadows. Can't remember. I don't know. Yeah, where is it? Dark Angel. I always loved the Lorac lip gloss, creamy and pigmented. Yes, and their lipsticks. Their lipsticks were so good. Oh my gosh. So good. Yeah, Jen. What happened to Tarte? They used to be so innovative. I think they were innovative when their stuff was innovative. Like they just haven't gone like okay, you innovate, right? And you do something new and different and unique. But then once that's done and then other companies start doing similar things, it's not innovative and new and unique anymore, and you keep coming out with that same thing that did well, that at one time was innovative and new and unique. It's not innovative and new and unique the third and fourth and fifth time you release it, you know? So I think that's what happened to Tarte is they got stuck. They got stuck. I think they tried. Let me show you something they tried. Hold on. Where did it go? Hold on. It might be, here it is. It's here. This. I think this was a good effort, but it was just overpriced. This right here, I think this wasn't a good effort. Was beautiful packaging. Beautiful packaging. This is called the Foil Finger Paints, but I think this was like $40 or something ridiculous just for this. And these glitter shades over here were crap. They were awful, but the other shades were beautiful. Like this is still like so creamy and amazing. Let me swatch these for you because these were a thing, and I don't think they got enough love. Like really? Like that's over top of that dark swatch, but like you get the point. That's one swipe. These things were incredible. If they had come out with a palette with smaller pans of this formula, I think that they could have done something, you know? Like what happened to this? What happened to this? It was just, they were so overpriced. Maybe the formula was just too expensive for them to sell it at a lower price. But like seriously, like I might pull that out and use that more because those are like, and it feels different. It's got a creamy feel that you just don't have with other palettes. They could have had something with this. You could have been a contender. Could have been something. All right. We only have 10 minutes left. What am I going to pick and choose? I have so many things. Okay, this was sent to me by my friend Nancy that I haven't talked to in a long time, but I met her through YouTube. This is the Master Palette by Mario collab ABH. I got this late because my first ABH palette was Modern Renaissance. Here, let me take off Jen's comment. My first ABH palette was Modern Renaissance. So this was sent to me after. And because I was spoiled by the Modern Renaissance palette, I feel like this was not as good. It was, look at the color story though. Like this was very innovative for the time to have this like dirty, grungy, like in the dirt, like naturey looking palette. Like this was groundbreaking when it came out. And the formula was very different. But I feel like when they hit their stride with the modern Renaissance, this formula just wasn't as good. So when I got this secondhand from Nancy, I was not impressed with it. But I think it was because I was spoiled by modern Renaissance. But the color story is absolutely gorgeous. And while we're speaking about ABH, since we're running out of time, I do want to show you, I do still have Subculture and Prism, which was what I thought might have been a serious downturn for ABH, but they just picked it right back up. They did great for a while after that. This is the original Subculture. I did hear that they did reformulate this because this, do you remember the mess that this was all over YouTube? The reviews of like just the crumbling on people's eyes. Like it was a mess. It was a mess. Like, and I think honestly, I think it was, they used their same formula that they had used for, oh wait, you know what? I think they had used some different formulas in here. Now that I'm thinking about it, because I did a whole ingredient analysis on these and compared the formulas. This was when I was super into like ingredient, like I went to a whole nother level with the Subculture thing. And they did use some different formulas in this, now that I'm thinking about it. And it just went wrong. It just went bad. And then they reverted back and they ended up reformulating Subculture to being similar formulas to Modern Renaissance and their other palettes. But also, the Prism palette was also not great. Not great. Like hard pan, like a lot of hard pan on this one. This one has hard pan. This one has hard pan. Dimension was my favorite shade from this palette. I love this shade. This shade did not get hard pan. That was beautiful. Let me see if I can get a good. Ooh, yes. Yes, you can see it. Oh, loved it. But this was kind of a weird time for ABH. I feel like when these palettes came out, they were being talked about a lot and then not talked about a lot in a positive way. And then these came out and then they were being talked about in a negative way. And it was, I think that was a big shock for ABH because they were used to receiving so much praise. And when people hated Subculture, I think that probably was really, I would imagine that was really a difficult time. But they picked it up and they ended up coming out with some great palettes after that. And then the story continued. But I don't tell the whole ABH story. But yeah, I do still have these. I think that the biggest shade in Subculture where people were like, oh my gosh, this is awful, was like the green ones like Destiny and Untamed. I think people just put them down here. Like they just looked. Oh, hard pan. People want to know what hard pan is. It's when the oils from your brushes or your fingers get into an eyeshadow and it makes it so the pan gets hard and you can't pick up the product anymore. So a way to solve that is just put a piece of tape on it and it'll lift up the hard pan and then you can use it again. But it's more annoying than anything. Thank you, husband. I appreciate that. Yes, I do call him husband because I have a son named John and a husband named John. And if I say John, my son answers. So I have to call him husband or else it gets confusing. But yeah, I mean, I think the greens, I think were what really, and also I think the mixing of the greens and the reds, I think people were trying to mix them. And of course they're, opposite the color wheel. So they weren't blending well and they were turning into mud and it was a disaster. It was a disaster. All right, let me scroll down a little bit. We got 5 more minutes.
Latina wants to know if you still recommend the Modern Renaissance palette.
Latina wants to know if I still recommend the Modern Renaissance palette. Yes. Absolutely. If you like that color story, absolutely. I'm scrolling down because I'm way back in the Tarte conversation. Kristen says, I have an original and a second back of Subculture, never use them. Yeah, I mean, it's a very odd, I think you really have to love that color story, I think, to reach for it. And it's just a weird, it's a weird palette. It's a weird palette. Yeah, technically Tracy says ABH needed to push the Jaclyn palette harder and give it room to break out more than it did. It's an amazing color story. Totally agree. 100%. That was a fantastic palette. Claire says, I always felt the Subculture debacle was like the beauty community having a collective mass hysteria moment. I think it was. And it was fun. Like when we all kind of collectively agreed on something. Like I miss those days when there's drama, but it's like the Subculture palette drama is like the biggest thing in the community. Like I want more of that kind of drama, you know, where we can all like try something and agree on it, and like it's like a big thing and we're all like into it and everything, you know. All right, got a couple more things I want to show you. Urban Decay Electric. Okay, I did not purchase this. My husband purchased this because at one point my husband had a joke channel, and he bought this for his like comedy joke channel. But I ended up using it a little bit. I didn't use it a lot, but I do still have it. It still exists. I probably won't throw it away, but I never use this because this is just not where I go with my shadow. it's very bright, very bright. And this was the first palette that I remember that has a disclaimer on it about the pigments not being eye safe. And people wigged out about the pigments not being FDA approved for eye use. And since then, there have been a lot of palettes. I mean, any palette that you see that says it is a pressed pigment palette or it is a shadow palette, if you see they're specifically avoiding the word eyeshadow, it's probably a palette like this where there's something where it says not FDA approved for eye use. And we've talked about it a lot on this channel, where it's really just the FDA is behind on their regulations overall. That's usually what it is, where they're approved in the EU, but they're just not approved in the United States for some reason. And they could stain your eyes. They could, but it's pretty outdated. So that's why you see a lot of companies coming out with pressed pigment palettes. Don't let them convince you that it's just pigment pressed. Like somebody said at one time, an influencer had said, and I said, that's ridiculous. But I think they just didn't tell him. Don't let them convince you that it's anything different other than they just can't. They're not allowed to call it an eyeshadow legally. They're just not allowed. But what's weird is they are allowed to put it on their eyes and advertise it. I think that's odd. I think that's very odd. Oh my gosh, we only have 3 minutes left. Okay. So I'll show you my Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons palette. This I bought. I was on my phone on Periscope, the old app Periscope, and I was having people help me pick out what I was going to buy. And I remember purchasing this. People were like, get the bonbons, get the bonbons. Barely smells like chocolate now. But this is like the pan shape, I think, was what was innovative here. That I don't think we'd ever seen heart-shaped pans before. But the color story is pretty boring. Relatively boring at this point. I mean, how many Too Faced palettes have we seen that are all natural with a pop of pink and a little bit of purple? A lot. And then I just have a few more. These are the ones that live behind me right here. So you can see I have my Texture Neutrals Volume 1, and then I have my my Lunar Beauty Moon Spell. Those aren't that old, so I didn't bring those out. But these also live over there, and I've brought this out quite a few times. This is a very special palette to me, the Alice Through the Looking Glass palette. And when I was talking on What's Up in Makeup today about the new Urban Decay palette, how it would be cool if it had some kind of pop-up, like something cool. Like this is what I was talking about. Like they used to do cool stuff like this, where, you know, you open this up and there's a freaking butterfly inside. Like that's so cool. Like how cool would it have been for like the Wild palette or whatever to be something like this, and then you open it up like this, and then like there's like a jungle scene, you know, like that would have been neat. But is it excessive? Is it good? Are they going to spend more on the packaging than they'd be able to make back in sales? I don't know. But it had this like little drawer that would pull out, and there's the shadows in there. And you know, Urban Decay used to make stuff like this. We talked about the Game of Thrones palette last week a little bit. So like on that same line, they have this, and then inside they have the chair. Whoa, the throne. I shouldn't call it a chair. The throne underneath. You know, and then this coming out. Like, I wish they made more like, I think these are cool. Like besides the eyeshadow, like they're just cool collector's items, you know? Love those. And then I just want to show you a couple more Lorac palettes because we are almost out of time. This was the Beauty and the Beast palette. I love this when this came out. It looks like a little book, and it's so cute, and like still relatively, you know, it's naturals in a pop of blue. It's not anything magical, but the formula was really good. I actually really like this palette a lot. And then this one. This was my jam. The blush palette. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is the Pirates of the Caribbean palette. I remember the thumbnail that I did for this video. I was doing my thumbnails at the time, and I made myself into a pirate, and I was so proud of that freaking thumbnail. But yeah, so it opens up like that, and there's your shadows. I felt like the color story, this was a little bit difficult for me personally to use, but the quality was really good. And then in here, there was a secret there's a secret drawer. And if you bought the blush palette, you could put the blush palette in there. Isn't that cool? Like a little hidden treasure chest. Like what, where is this stuff now? Like this is so cool. Like why don't companies make stuff like this? It's so cool. It says on the top, it says Dead Men Tell No Tales, because I guess that was the movie that was coming out. Treasure in the Stars. Yeah. It's just cool. Guided by the Stars, it says on the side. But it's just cool. It's a cool freaking palette, man. I want to see more stuff like that. I would buy that again. Absolutely. I guess there just isn't as much like energy for palettes anymore. Maybe it's just too expensive to produce, that they're not selling enough. You know? Oh, Indigo says, I hate those bulky Urban Decay palettes. I think it just depends on what, like, are you collecting it or are you trying to be functional? Like, and you sound like you're trying to be functional. You know, which they're, you know, if you don't have the space, you don't have the space, you know? And I definitely like decluttering is probably going to be a good idea sometime soon. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I can't say you're wrong. You're right. Absolutely right. Oh, Elizabeth, good point. Urban Decay did the Eternals palette in that display piece style. It went on sale almost immediately. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. Like I guess because I'm not a Marvel person, I didn't even think that was something that I would want, because I'm not a Marvel person, but I'm not a Pirates of the Caribbean person either. So why did I buy this? I don't know. Maybe I'm asking for something that I wouldn't buy it. That's a thing. You know, you think you want something and then it comes out and you're like, man, never mind. And then the brand is stuck. The brand is stuck with it. Okay, so before we go, look how much my lipstick has faded since I put it on in the middle of a chat. I feel like it's like gone. Like, so if you want a lip balm with a little bit of tint that goes away in an hour, 45 minutes, smells good, feels good, the color goes away. All right, I'm gonna go. I gotta go. Reminder, next week, 5 p.m. If you want to come visit me, I will be at the Alney Farmers Market in the morning. If you want to come visit and buy some marshmallows, we will have our strawberry hearts. We have white chocolate and dark chocolate strawberry hearts. If you want to come visit, all of the hearts and everything are at Locally Crafted right now in Gaithersburg. If you want to go pick some up there. What else? I'm going to be restocking them next Tuesday. So they have a bunch of the hearts, but they don't have a lot of boxes of different things. I'm going to be restocking them on Tuesday. So next Tuesday of next week would be a good time to go visit Locally Crafted if you want marshmallows. If you're in the area, if you're in Montgomery County, Maryland. So yeah. And then one day I will move to a commercial kitchen. It's just not a thing right now, but one day I'll pull the trigger and I'll do it. But, oh, Christine, did you get your Beautylish Lucky Bag this year? I did. I'm going to be filming it hopefully today. If not today, tomorrow, because I have to film it with my kids. And I told them specifically, they're not allowed to yawn in the video. If they want to be in it, they don't have to be in it. They could just pop their heads in if they want to. They don't even have to be in the video if they don't want to. So we'll see. All right. I'm leaving now. We're 3 minutes over. Okay. Have a good week.